2023 is going to be an epic year for content marketing.
Start thinking with more precision, whether that be adding more personalization in new ways.
There's going to be an increased use of personalization architectures and tools like data analytics and AI to deliver content that's customized against every viable persona and as close to real time as possibly can be achieved.
Or taking a deep dive on data to make decisions on content usage using more of a scalpel approach than a hammer.
It comes down to customer data platforms. It comes down to being able to connect, and it's not just systems integration.
Owning your data and your community become more important. Just take a look at what Google is doing with third-party cookies, how advertisers need to adjust.
But establishing a connection between every system you're using to manage the customer experience. Any of those systems have wonderful known customer information in them, and you have the opportunity to integrate them.
The two big trends I see shaping the future of content marketing are AI, and Web3.
Marketers have got to watch out for new AI technology, particularly for SEO and content development.
It's important for all content marketers to educate themselves on how these technologies benefit our brand, our communities, and our customers.
I believe MarTech is a big trend from now on. Marketing area and technology area are going to merge. We're going to see more and more tech guys such as developers and data scientists being part of content marketing teams.
Hello, everyone. It's Amanda with the Content Marketing Institute. Happy New Year. I feel like I can still say this. I mean, last week was kind of like a throwaway week, right? We were all just like getting back in the office, catching up on email. And this week we're hitting the ground running. So happy New Year to all of you. Thank you for joining me for our very first Ask the CM World Community Livestream of the year. And each time we dive into a new topic with an awesome guest from our CM World community. And as you can see by that video that we just ran, we are going to be talking about your content marketing predictions and resolutions for 2023. So I cannot wait to hear from all of you what you all have planned for the year. So today's live stream, if you don't know and you never joined us before, is brought to you by the Content Marketing Institute. We are the leading training and education organization for all things content marketing. If you want to learn more about all the great things we do, you can head over to contentmarketinginstitute.com for all the education and content around, you guessed it, content marketing. So head over there to learn more. And it is hard to believe, but we've been doing this live stream now for 2 years. So I personally want to thank all of you who tune in every week and support us and participate. I really appreciate all of you for joining us each week. So on that note, if you have any comments or suggestions for topics or guests for this live stream, please feel free to drop it in the comments or message me directly. We want to be sure that we are providing all of you with the education and the content that you want and need. So please let me know. I'd love to hear all your suggestions for any guests and topics. And as always, if you join me for today's live stream, please give me a virtual wave. Say hello. Emmanuel says Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. Let me know where you're joining us from. And as always, if you ask questions or comments, it makes for a more engaging live stream. So I hope to hear from you. So kicking off today's live stream, speaking of that, I'm going to be asking you this. Give me your number one content marketing resolution for 2023. What's the one thing you're hoping to accomplish or maybe learn more about or you plan to lean into this year? We'd love to hear what all of you are working on. For me personally, no surprise, I'm going to be leaning into short form video and learning more about that and how we can use it. And of course, experimenting with live streams. So we can provide you with all the great content that you want and need. So please feel free to drop it in. Gina's joining us from Ohio. Someone else is joining us from New Hampshire. I can't see your name. Adrienne from France. So thank you all for joining us. And let me know, drop it in your comments. What's the number one thing you are going to be working on for this year? All right. In December, in case you missed it, we released, as we do every year, our annual content marketing predictions, this time for 2023. And over 80 content marketers shared their thoughts on what trends they will be keeping an eye on or they think will be dominating marketing this year. So today we are going to be diving into some of those predictions. And if you haven't read it, you can head over to, there's a link, cmi.media/predict23 to see all of those. Let me pop this down here. So to chat about all of this today, I'm very excited about this live stream. We started the year off last year the same way with our awesome CMI team. So today joining me is our general manager, Stephanie Stahl, our head of marketing, Amy Cangelosi, and our head of editorial, Kim Mutzos. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me.
Hello. Happy New Year.
You too. Yes, I see lots of people telling us what they are interested in this year. LinkedIn organic growth, someone says. Nil is joining us from Barcelona. Dan is joining us from Laguna Beach, which is probably rainy, right, Kim?
Oh, that's a little farther south than me, but my guess would be yes. I think California is affected today.
Karen, Kim is on the West Coast as well. So if you're on the West Coast, you're probably getting rained or snowed on. Karen is interested in SEO and content. Gina wants to work on course creation this year. I think that's probably a popular one. This user, I'm sorry, I can't see your name. It says they're working on completing digital marketing certification. So awesome. Yes, if you're joining us, let us know what you are going to be working on this year. All right, let's get to it. The talk of AI. I think we've all heard this, right? The talk of AI and its impact on marketing is pretty much all I've been seeing. So AI predictions, let me pop some up here, were popular among our content marketing experts. Here's a look at a few of those. And a lot of content marketers, I think, are a little nervous or unsure or intimidated about what all this AI means for them, but you really don't have to be. So Stephanie, let's start with you. Why is learning to embrace it so important, first of all? And then how can, marketers get started with it without it feeling so overwhelming?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think we just can't be afraid of it. Just don't. I know there's so much anxiety, right? So many content creators and marketers feel like, AI is going to replace their creative work, which really it's not the case. And I love what Dale Bertrand said in that slide you just popped up a second ago about sort of supercharging, human creativity, which I believe it can. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I think that it can actually, with the right tools, it can actually help us free up time for more creative work if we lean on those kinds of tools to help us improve efficiency, to replace manual and often mundane work that we all do, then that can free up some time for us to be more creative and find more ways to engage with our audiences. And I think right now there's obviously a lot of talk and hype and excitement and fear and everything around all the news around Chat GTP, but that'll all settle down. And I think, though, the benefits of other tools, not that doesn't have benefits, it certainly does, but the benefit of AI tools will continue to grow. We just have to learn to accept them and use them in the ways that work with our brands, help our brands the most, rather than worrying about them taking over our jobs. I do think college professors might be a little concerned, though, however, about Chat GTP. But marketers, no, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Those are Stephanie's dogs in the background.
Yes, they are.
They really want to be on camera in this live stream. They have a few things to add today.
They feel strongly about this conversation too. Sorry.
I think it's also yes, Chat GPT, said it right. I think it's probably a great, everyone's it's a hype or whatever. It's probably a great way just to put your toe in the water, starting to, if you haven't done anything yet, starting to experiment and seeing what it's all about is probably a first. Yes, it's all hype and may not be something you end up using, but it's probably a good way to actually maybe start experimenting?
I agree. Just start experimenting. Don't be afraid of it. Just start experimenting. Give it a try. Have fun with it.
Right,
Just give it
right.
a try. But don't fear it. It's fine.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. If you're just joining us, we're talking about content marketing in 2023. Let us know where you're joining us from, and let us know what your number one priority is for content marketing in 2023. Christian is joining us for Croatia. He's going to be mostly focusing on SEO and seeing how AI develops and forms content creation. Sol is joining us for Patagonia. He's working on personal branding. I also think that's probably a very big topic this year, the creators out there. Who else do we have? We have people from Ukraine, Portugal, Mexico. So thank you all for joining us. And as we go along here, if you have any questions or comments, also please feel free to drop them in there. All right, another hot topic that we can't avoid is the economy. So we've seen a lot of layoffs, budget cuts. There's a lot of uncertainty going on. So as Maureen Jan says, we need to prepare for a recession, whether it's real or imagined. And many of us are going to have to do more with less. And as she says, that means automation, efficiency, and flexible resources are going to be key to ensuring you don't lose your marbles, which we don't want to do. So Kim, as head of our editorial team, what are some of your suggestions for teams on maintaining quality of content and remaining efficient, even when we have fewer resources?
I think that's such a good question. And fortunately or unfortunately, it's an evergreen question because content teams face this challenge in good times as well as uncertain periods. We're creative people. We have a lot of ideas. It seems like there's never enough time, there's never enough budget, and there are never enough people to do everything that we want to do. So we know a lot about this. My advice really for this year is to focus on a couple of areas. First of all, ruthless prioritization. I know that was a bit of a buzz phrase for a couple of years back, but it's really so important. Focus in on those activities that will have the best chance to have the greatest impact on both your audience and your goals. Of course, to take this approach, you have to get very clear on what those goals are. And that means write them down. Yes, this is about documenting your strategy, or if you don't want to think about it as a strategy, think about it as writing down your literal specific goals for content marketing or content in general this year. Then share them with your business leaders and your collaborators and get everyone to acknowledge and agree to them. That way, when new ideas come up, and you know they will, new priorities, new requests from your teams, you can weigh the impact of the new projects that are suggested against what's been agreed to. The second area, I think, for efficiency to focus on is really the idea of more. And I don't mean do more with less. That old chestnut comes up all the time. I mean giving and getting more from every piece of content that you produce. And there are a couple of ways to build that kind of practice and focus into your work. The first is tackling it right at the planning stage for your content. If you go to contentmarketinginstitute.com today, you'll see a great article about mind mapping a whole series of content from one bigger long form piece of content. The idea there is you brainstorm and write down at the beginning of the project all the related pieces that you can produce from this concept for your long form content piece. What are the subtopics? What are the related themes? What are all the different ways you can approach this content? And think about the different formats you'll want to create too: video, audio, written, etc. And the idea of mapping this out, and what really gives you the efficiency at the planning stage, is that you can make the most out of every interview that you do in support of this idea. You know the sub-themes, you know all the different ways you're going to want to approach this idea. You can, if you're doing surveys, if you're doing polls, you know already what all the related pieces are that you want to produce. All of your research, you can get it all done, as Maureen says, in a front-loaded sort of way. Ask the right questions, capture video in the right formats, etc. Robert Rose has also written extensively about this. He talks about it as thinking about planning a whole season of content as if you were a TV showrunner. I'll make sure we put the links to some of these articles that I've mentioned in the chat. in the comments so that you can go and take a look at what these other people have had to say about it. And then finally, another way to approach this is to take an existing piece of content and figure out all the ways you can repurpose it into other formats. There's nothing more efficient than taking the work you've already done and getting more value out of it. We have a great piece on our site written by Amy Woods that approaches this in terms of video, if you have a great video that you've done, but all of the suggestions that she makes work regardless of what format you're starting in. So I'd really lean into those things, planning up front and then repurposing the extra work that you have, and you'll find efficiencies that way.
All great. Janine says, yes, goals need to be smart and have an actionable, realistic plan to support them. And Lisa on our team is posting those links for us as we go along. So she's on top of it there if you're interested in anything that Kim just talked about. All right. We have an extra guest here today.
This is Sammy. Yep.
Sammy, he couldn't be himself.
Sammy was really happy with the repurposing of content. Yeah, which I think I'm such a fan of that too. It's fantastic. It's why wouldn't you take great content and turn it into other pieces? It's a fantastic strategy, especially if you're time strapped. So thanks for all those great suggestions, Kim.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Sammy, for the cameo.
So on to the next topic, which is also very popular, is data. So a lot of content marketing experts had some comments on this as well. Tim Hayden says marketers continue to face attribution and analytics challenges as networks tighten and restrict access to data. So he says we need to focus more on our existing customers by building more direct and meaningful content experiences with those customers and the data we have. So Amy, to you, what are some ways content marketers can use data for both to inform our decisions for both those existing customers we have, but also for potential new customers?
Yeah. So for existing customers, I think Tim is totally right. And we just really need to think about how you can use that data that we know about our customers to personalize their experience. It's all about personalization, the experience and the content that we're delivering. And I just think the most successful brands don't really stop personalizing after someone makes a purchase, right? And that's what helps them to continue to build that trust and turns their customers into fans and advocates for our businesses. For newer prospects and audiences, we know that as first-party data becomes more important, we know that content is going to be a key tool into getting that data from new prospects. But we also know that people may become more reluctant going forward to hand over that information about themselves. So one of the predictions from the article that really stood out to me was a few people said getting back to the basics of content marketing, which means creating content that's helpful, smart, and has really good storytelling. And if we keep that top of mind, that is just going to create great content that will help us get that data from these new prospects. And then one other note about data, beyond the customer data we were talking about, the data that's behind our content we're going to be creating is going to become even more important with all the uncertainties around the economy that we just talked about in the last question. We know that management is going to have a closer eye on the marketing budget. So we'll need to be measuring and showing ROI and using that data to tell a story around the value of the content that we're creating.
Great points, right? You want to continue to have that money coming in. So you need to make sure the bosses understand what you're doing. But I also think it's just important, like everyone's, we want to grow and we want more customers, but you really also need to not forget about those existing customers that you have and make sure that you are planning great experiences and content for them as well. Looks like we might have lost Kim out there on the West Coast at the moment, but we'll see if we can get her back. If you're just joining us, let us know. We're talking about Content Marketing 2023. Let us know in the comments, what's your big resolution for 2023? All right, this question, kind of going along back to the storytelling, etc. that Amy mentioned, but creativity. It's no surprise, right? We're facing a glut of content out there. We all know we need to stand out from the crowd in content marketing. Russ Summers predicts content marketers will get in touch with their creative roots in 2023 because creative work is the essence of differentiation and a key driver of revenue and profit. And I really love that prediction from him. So you two, what are some tips on getting in touch with our creative sides or finding the right partners to help us with this? Amy, you wanna start?
Yeah, I can say one of the things that gets my creative juices flowing is the conversations with our community. So the chats here that you do, Amanda, every week, the discussions that take place in our Slack channel, swapping ideas in person every year at Content Marketing World, they're personally, for me, all the greatest sources of creative inspiration.
What about you, Stephanie?
Yeah, I agree, Amy. These kinds of conversations, our Twitter chats, the in-person events. I mean, it's so hard to beat that kind of inspiration gathering. I love what Russ said about creative work. It's so hard to stand out these days, right? There's so much content. There's so many things coming at us all the time. And I would advise brands too, look for the creative talent inside your organization and know that they're not necessarily those who are on the executive team, right? So look for those people within your organization, get ideas from them. Maybe they're the ones you want to be putting in front of the camera on certain things, but I would sort of embrace that kind of talent that might live within inside your organization, and really try to focus on something that makes your brand unique. And that's not just for capturing net new customers, as Amy was just talking about, sort of doubling down on your existing customers. We got to keep that up too for them. We have to keep up the personalization for them. We have to make sure we are continuing to offer them creative stories and, ways of learning, new ways to do things. And so I feel like too, whether you have the budget or not to hire an agency to help you with this creative work, take a look at what agencies are doing. Look at the Content Marketing Awards. Look at the winners and finalists that we had last year and the year before, and what they're creating on behalf of their customers, and steal some inspiration, steal some ideas. There are so many places you can look for it, either inside your company or outside.
Yeah, that's definitely a great source of inspiration if you look at all the award winners. Yeah. But I would also say just trying new things, whether you actually publish it or not. I feel like that always can be inspiring. Like maybe you try a short form video, you're practicing with it. Maybe that's not it. You find something else in that process or whatever, or get you excited about something else. So I just think trying new things, like I said, even if you don't publish them, is a good way to sort of get those creative juices flowing. And definitely within your organization, I bet there are people who would definitely, like, if you hate being on camera, like, I don't know if anyone here feels like that, but there might be someone on your team who loves to do it, JK, would be great to put up on camera. So I think it's, maybe somehow doing some, something to get the team involved and see what their different interests are or skill set are. So all great things. So one final thing before we go, what are some of your content marketing resolutions here? What are you guys looking for, trends, ideas you're keeping an eye on or hoping to try? Stephanie, let's start with you.
Well, we just talked about it, right? Experiment, right? I mean, that is my goal this year. Like more experimentation in what we're doing, trying new things, changing things that might be okay, but not great, and not being afraid to say, you know what, we're going to stop doing this and we're going to try that. Maybe that doesn't work, but we're going to try it, So I'm hoping to kind of push us all on the team here to be more willing to experiment than ever before. And I think we'll come up with some pretty great things.
What about you, Kim? What are you keeping an eye on?
Yeah. Well, I think more than what I'm keeping an eye on, I just want to put my intention for the year out there, since you asked. And those of you who got an email from me this morning already know this. It's depth, really. It's what I talked about earlier. It's the notion of getting more out of everything you're doing. I'm not sure if you can still hear me. I appear to be frozen, but hopefully you can hear, even if I freeze up. So for me, it's really that going deeper rather than wider, and deepening relationships with the audience, deepening the value of the content to the business and to the audience. And that's really where I'm focused for the year.
What about you, Amy?
I have a couple. One, since we were just talking about data and the importance of measurement, I know there's big changes coming up for Google Analytics. So learning GA4 and all of the data it can teach us is really high on my priority list. Also, I will have an eye on the social media landscape. I'm so curious, as I know all of you are, about what is going to happen with Twitter. And what's the next big thing? Is TikTok going to continue to explode? I know a lot of our contributors to the predictions article said that, but is that the future? Is it something else? It'll be interesting to watch it unfold.
All right. Well, thank you three for joining me. I think Kim froze again, but hopefully she can hear us. So thank you all. Okay, perfect. Perfect. She's out on the West Coast where those big storms are coming. So who knows what's going on out there. So, but she's safe. So we have a great year planned here at CMI. Here's the link to the predictions post. You can read all 80 of those predictions, some really great stuff there as well. And, be sure to follow us on social this year. LinkedIn's a great place, YouTube, Twitter. We'll see what happens with that. We have a Slack community you can join. I think Lisa on our team actually dropped it in the comments, the link to that. So if you want to check out our Slack community, please head over there. Of course, we have our signature event, which we're all excited about, Content Marketing Worlds, coming up in September. We have a new location in DC. We have CMI University, a weekly webinar. So if you don't want to miss all those things, it's probably a good idea to sign up for our newsletters, our weekly and our daily newsletter, and you can check it out there, and so you don't miss anything. So thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks for your comments. Thanks Stephanie, Amy, and Kim as well. And I'm Amanda with Ask the Community. Until next time, be well. See you.
Hi, everybody. Bye. Thanks, Amanda.